Hello, friends. This week in church, it is, well, not just in church, but all over the United States, it is election week, which means that we are all voting. So this week in church, we're not just talking about voting, but we're talking and thinking together about democracy and the ways in which we believe in and put our faith and trust in something much deeper than the institutions that make up our democracy. And that the connections between us, the values in our hearts, and the way that we love each other are actually the foundation of the institutions and the ways of being together that we're voting for. So I have a story about these topics to share with you. It's called A Tale of Three Villages. Once upon a time, there were three travelers whose villages had flooded. Together, they set out for higher ground to find a new home. As they journeyed, they reminisced in stories of their former home and their loved ones who they had lost to the flood. As they crossed over huge mountains, they saw a sheltered, fertile valley beyond, with a cluster of three small villages. One of them said, "This land looks a lot like home, but I'm a little bit nervous about meeting new people." The second said, "We have become good friends. We know and trust each other, and we share tasks fairly amongst us three." The third said, "Let's ask really good questions at each village to help us find a new home." Over their fire that night, they came up with two questions. The first was, how does the village make decisions? And the second was, what happens when you don't agree? So they entered the first village. The first village was in a wooded area, looking just like this. And the villagers told them, in response to this question, "We have a powerful ruler who decides what is best for our village. The ruler's family have been in charge for many generations. If we have a disagreement, the ruler decides for us." The travelers looked at each other with tight lips, then thanked the villagers and continued on their journey. When they entered the second village, looking just like this, also in trees but different kinds, they asked, "How does your village make decisions?" The villagers responded, "We vote for a few people to represent all of us on a council. We vote for people who promise to make decisions that are best for us." Then the travelers asked their second question. "What happens when you don't agree with what the council decides?" "Sometimes we don't like at all what they decide, but we have to do it." The travelers looked at each other with disappointed eyes and then said thank you and goodbye to those villagers as well. As they trudged to the third village, they talked amongst themselves. One said, "That sounded good at first, but was it better than the village with the ruler?" Another said, "Not really. The third said, after the others vote for them, the people on the council can do whatever they want. So they arrived at the third village. Looked just like this. And they soon found some villagers to ask about decision-making there. One villager smiled and said, "Come, we will show you." The villagers formed a large circle and invited the travelers to join them. A villager wearing a special necklace said, "We welcome you into our circle. If you would like to stay, you must accept our agreements. Speak the truth. Keep your promises. Honor and care for this circle as part of the earth and sky." The travelers looked at each other with shining eyes, and they all agreed in unison. Another villager explained, "This is how we make important decisions, by listening to each in their turn, under these agreements, until a decision is made. This is also how we disagree, but we disagree in respect and in peace." The travelers smiled widely. They had found their new home. The end. So, a couple of follow-up questions to think about. Why do you think the travelers decided to stay in the third village? Another question. What is important to the people in the third village? What values do you see and do you hear in those agreements? I hear a lot of the same values that we have in our community. And the last question is, what are the values that people share where you live? Maybe in your family or in your school or in our church. What rules do you go by that help you to live those values? So those are some questions to think about this week as we embark on another election day week. I will be thinking of you all, and know that the church is sending you all so much love. And if you need anything or want to reach out, please feel free to do so. Many, many blessings on your week.